Is Disney's new pirate-themed lounge, the Beak and Barrel, actually worth it? Today, I'm going to be answering that question for you in the most fun way possible. If you have been looking for an honest review, along with all of the information you need to know about this new experience, then drop an anchor and raise a toast because this video is for you. Hello magical humans, I'm Kenzie, and today I'm going to be sharing more about our experience at the Beak and Barrel. I'm going to be sharing everything you need to know about this experience, including all of the pros and considerations you should take into account if you are considering booking this new experience at Walt Disney World. I will also be sharing several pro tips along the way so that you can get the most out of this new experience if you do decide to book it. We have a lot to cover, so let's get this magic started. To kick off today's video, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the basics of this experience for those that are not aware, so the rest of this video makes sense. The Beak and Barrel is located in Disney's Magic Kingdom in Adventureland, right next to the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction. It is an absolutely perfect location because this is also a pirate-themed tavern. The experience does require advanced dining reservations, and it is currently in extremely high demand. So I do recommend that this is the first reservation that you make when your advanced dining reservation window opens for Walt Disney World. If it is something that you really want to do, I definitely recommend you prioritize it first. It is a 45-minute experience. It's completely limited to that 45 minutes, and it does go by extremely quickly. There is also a 2-drink maximum per person, so those are all really important things to know. They are very strict about the 45-minute time limit, so do keep that in mind. The timer starts as soon as you walk through the front doors of the tavern after your name is called for your reservation. So make sure everyone has gone to the bathroom and has everything they need and they are ready to go for when your name is called. And also make sure you're on time because you don't want to miss any magical minutes of this 45-minute experience. Okay, now that we have the basics out of the way, let's talk a little bit more about our experience and what you can expect from your experience if you do decide to book this experience. As soon as you walk into the front doors of this tavern, you will see how amazing and remarkable the theming of this tavern is. It looks aged and worn and lived in, and it just fits so perfectly into Adventureland. It is on the smaller side, but I think that adds a lot of character to the space and it really gives it a cozy feel. So I do actually really like that element of the space itself. The official capacity is only 197 people, so I can see why it is so hard to get a reservation beyond the fact that it is something new and exciting, and of course a lot of good reviews are coming out about this experience as well. The Imagineers really hit it out of the park with the theming of this space. I am a details lover, and there are so many details and storytelling elements all throughout this tavern to appreciate and to just learn more about the tavern itself and the history, how it came to be, and of course some legends of the famous pirates that have spent time in this tavern as well. One of my favorite details that I noticed right away, right when I walked in, is that there is a pirate hanging in a hammock on the ceiling and his dirty foot is hanging off the side. That might sound unremarkable to those of you who have never been to Disney or haven't been in a while, but let me tell you, that is a nod from the Imagineers to the Disney park fans. For those that don't know, there is a famous dirty foot pirate on the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction who also has his foot hanging over the ledge that is dirty, and we all love it so much, and they added that nod just for us fans, and I absolutely love that detail. There are 3 different rooms that you can potentially be seated inside of for this experience. One really helpful thing to know though is you might be standing for the whole experience, or you might be seated with other parties or even several other parties depending on where you end up inside of this tavern. This is something that the cast members kindly told us twice before we went inside to enjoy our experience, but I do think it is really helpful to note this in advance so that you can set your expectations appropriately, or you can decide if that's a complete deal breaker for you and your family for this experience. As soon as you walk inside of the Beak and Barrel, you are located inside of the first room. This is the biggest room out of the 3 rooms, and it is called the Mess. It has a really long, beautiful table that is, of course, shared amongst several parties. So if you do end up at that table, you will likely be seated next to other parties that are not your own, of course. It is also where the main bar is located, and the main bar is absolutely stunning. 10 out of 10, no notes to the Imagineers for this one. It is themed after a pirate ship, and there's also a really cool skull, and it is just amazing. So you definitely want to make sure you check out the bar area during your experience. There is also a really large booth that is themed kind of after a jail cell. It looks super cool, by the way. And if you end up in the booth, you will likely be sharing that booth with another party or several other parties, depending on your party size. There are also some standing options located in this section, and the standing options obviously have like counter height sort of tables, if you will, maybe a little bit higher. I don't really know that you can like call a standing spot a table, but you can see in the visuals what I'm talking about. Then of course, there is also some counter height stools as well. It is important to note though that the standing options and the counter height stool options do technically face a wall. However, you can turn around and still see the action, so that part is definitely positive. And there is also a window that you can sort of see through as well. So it doesn't really feel like you're facing a wall necessarily. Some light does kind of come through it and you can sort of see through it. So it definitely does help if you do end up in one of those spots as well. The room located to the left is known as the map maker's room, and this room was blown open by a cannonball because the pirates couldn't find the key, of course. So it does have some extra fun theming and tons of storytelling details inside of this room. This is the smallest out of the 3 rooms though, and it only has a large standing table option available. So if you do end up in this section, you will be standing for your whole experience, and you likely will be sharing that standing table with several other parties as well. The third room that is located to the right is known as the captain's quarters, and there are tons of really fun details and storytelling elements in this room as well. No matter which room you're seated in, you get that experience, so that part is really nice. The captain's quarters is slightly more fancy than the other 2 rooms, and this is actually the room that we ended up sitting in, and we really did enjoy this room a lot. There are several really big booths located inside of this room, and it is important to note again that those booths are typically shared amongst another party or several other parties. The booth across from us actually had 3 different parties sitting in it, so just for your awareness, that can happen. It's the same way at Oga's Cantina, the Star Wars themed bar at Disney's Hollywood Studios, but it's something that a lot of people do not expect if they've never been to something like this at Disney before, so it is something I like to point out so that you can set your expectations appropriately and so that you're not disappointed in any way. This room also has the standing options that have kind of that counter height ledge, I guess you could say, to put your food and drinks on, and then it also has the counter stool options with the ledge as well. So the same configuration as that other room, just on the other side of the wall, if you will, with the window though, so it does help a little bit, and again, you can turn around and be a part of the action if that is something that is important to you as well. Another really cool thing about the big booths in this section is they're all themed after a famous pirate, and one of those pirates is Captain Jack Sparrow, so you might end up in a royalty booth, if you will. At least I consider him royalty. He's a very famous pirate. Not that the other pirates that they're themed after aren't famous, but you know what I mean. It's really cool if you end up in the Captain Jack Sparrow booth. So if you do end up in one of those booths, make sure you pay attention to all of the details that surround you so you can learn a little bit more about the pirate your booth is themed after. One important thing to note is that you do not have control over which room you end up in or what kind of seating arrangement you end up in. You can't make requests, so you just have to go with the flow and go with whatever Disney gives you. So just keep that in mind before booking this experience. If one of those seating arrangements is a deal breaker for you, you might want to consider skipping out on this one. Another thing to note is the environment inside of the tavern is very pirate-like. It is loud, it is lively, it is fun. So this is not a good place to go if you are looking for quiet conversation, but if you are looking for a fun, good, spirited time, this is a great option to consider. We somehow ended up at a table that was only big enough for our party, so we ended up not having to share with anyone during our experience. One unique thing about this experience is the cast members, also known as the waiters and waitresses, do get really into this experience, and they definitely make it feel a lot more immersive because not only are they dressed like pirates, but they act like pirates as well, and they will participate in pirate banter during your experience. So one example example of something our waiter did during our experience is when he brought over the napkins and the silverware. He mentioned the napkins could be raised at any point if we needed to wave our white flag during the experience. And he also mentioned that he was being a dirty pirate and he stole the silverware, and specifically the fork from a mermaid.
A dingle hopper.
And we just thought that was the funniest thing ever. I still am just laughing about it. It was so much fun, and it really adds to the overall immersion of the experience. Once we were seated and had some fun banter with our server, it was finally time to check out the menu. The menu was made out of this leathery sort of feeling material, which was pretty cool, and the pages reminded me of something you would find on a pirate map, and I just loved that every little detail, even something as small as the menu, was themed at this place. The theming was truly so incredible, truly a 10 out of 10. The menu has a wide variety of things on it. There are small bites and non-alcoholic specialty beverages, signature cocktails, wine, beers, and even some rum options available. It is a pirate tavern, of course. I ordered the hibiscus rum punch royale, and it was really good. It was kind of like a sweet rum punch, but not overly sweet, which I liked. And it also had some Prosecco in it, and it gave it kind of this bubbly kind of effect, if you will. And so it was a great option. It was also served in a copper cup, which I love because it really kept the punch really cold during the whole experience as well. Michael ordered the Salty Seas Margarita. Yes, it does have a pirate themed name, which we absolutely loved. It was also this beautiful purple color, and it was a really good and fresh margarita. Michael said it reminded him of the margaritas that you could get outside in the Mexico Pavilion, in case you are looking for a comparison of what the margarita is like there. Currently, if you order the Plunder's Punch, you do get to drink that drink out of a fancy pirate mug, and you do get to take that pirate mug home as a souvenir as well. This option is a little bit on the pricey side because it is $46, but it is really nice that you do get to take home a souvenir as well. Disney is calling this a first edition mug, so it sounds like more different options will potentially be coming out in the future. So they may even become collector's items, which is also really fun and another reason to potentially go back in the future. We also ordered some of the small bite options off the menu as well. The first thing that we got was called Island Provisions, and this essentially is a really fancy chips and dips kind of situation. There are blue corn chips and there are also plantain chips, and then there are also several different types of dips to try. It really reminded me of Sanaa's bread service, but for chips, and I thought that that was a really fun thing to do and a really great thing to put on the menu. It's a great thing to share with several people if you are going with a larger party size or with a couple of other people as well. It's fun to kind of try the different types of dips and see what everybody likes. Some of the options are definitely more adventurous than others, just so you know, but there are some safe options as well. So I do feel like this is a great option for really anybody, and we really enjoyed it. So we do recommend this menu item. The second thing that we ordered was the Cook's Corn Griddle Cakes with braised chicken for $14, and we really enjoyed this menu item. We both rated it a 10 out of 10, and it was by far our favorite thing that we tried at the tavern during this experience. It really reminded me of a tamale, so if you like tamales, you will probably like this as well. It had melted cheese, lime sour cream, chili peppers, and cotija. This is a great option to consider if you're looking for something that is a little bit on the heavier side, or if you're looking to get a meal out of the experience. This is definitely something I would consider ordering. They also have an option of the Cook's Corn Griddle Cakes without chicken, and instead they have poblano peppers, so that's another great option to consider. And then they also have something called Kraken's Catch, which is essentially octopus tentacles marinated in lemon and lime juice. And that option is a little bit like a ceviche or a seafood salad if you're into that thing. I am definitely not. I call myself a landitarian because I only eat things from the land and nothing from the sea. So that one was a hard pass for me, but it does look like something fun and adventurous for those that are interested.
It is time for a brief magical broadcast interruption.
Okay, this is a little random, but I do think it is worth inserting into this video for you because the sweetest cast member just stopped to talk to me and he told me a Disney fact that I do not know, and I know a lot about Disney facts and Disney history. I'm a total nerd. So I was really excited to learn this and I wanted to share it with all of you. We have been filming at Disney's Polynesian Resort today. You've seen it in the background. It's a beautiful resort with tons of history, but the resort right next to it, Disney's Grand Floridian Resort, actually has a really fun fact that I did not know about, and so I wanted to share it with all of you. The Beach Boys actually filmed their music video Kokomo on the beaches of that resort before it opened to guests for the first time. I had no idea about that, but I just love that, and I was just referencing that in my Caribbean beach videos, and so I just thought that was a full circle fun moment to share, so I hope you don't mind the brief interruption. But thank you so much to that sweet cast member. That was so cool, and thanks for stopping to talk to me.
Back to regularly scheduled programming.
Several interactive experiences happen during your time at the Beak and Barrel, so I wanted to spend some time to highlight some of those interactive experiences with you because in my opinion, they do make the Beak and Barrel even more special. The first group of storytelling interactive elements happen with Rummy the Parrot. I feel like Rummy is the perfect name for a parrot at a pirate theme bar, and I just love his name and his personality so much. He is perched on top of the cursed bar in the main room, and he comes out fairly often. I didn't time exactly how often he came out, but I would say that it's pretty safe to say probably every 5 to 10 minutes or so. And every time he comes out, he does something different, says something different. And so it's really engaging and it's a lot of fun. He encourages tavern participation with the guests, and the cast members really get into these interactive storytelling moments as well, which I really loved as well, and just think they're a lot of fun. And it's just really fun when everyone's kind of like enjoying something together and doing something special together. One example of one of these special moments is when Rummy came out and started singing Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me, and he encouraged the cast members and the audience to participate. And of course, everybody joined in, and it was just a really fun and special moment inside of the tavern, and a core memory we will always have. One of the most memorable experiences happened when Rummy came out and told us to batten down the hatches because there was a storm, and it really did kind of feel like there was a storm inside of the tavern. There were lightning effects and there were rain sounds, and the cast members were running around and they were holding things above their heads like trays and things like that, and it really just reminded me of something like Trader Sam's at Disney's Polynesian Resort here at Walt Disney World. It's actually the resort we're at now. A lot of interactive things happen at that bar, and this moment really reminded me of something like that. It was just so interactive, so fun, so unexpected, and we really did enjoy it a lot.
Repeat after me, crew! Batten down the hatches! The mainsail! Secure the cargo! And most importantly, hold on! My purpose is just monkey!
These interactive storytelling moments only lasted a couple of minutes, and so they didn't overpower the experience at all, and they lasted long enough to be able to enjoy them and get something extra special out of them. So I do feel like the Imagineers really did strike a really good balance for how often they were happening and for how long they were. There were also interactive elements that happened in the captain's quarters where we were sitting, and this experience was completely unexpected and really blew me away. There were several glass bottles with ships in them, and then what happened seemingly out of nowhere where the ships began to battle each other, and then one of them sank, and it actually did sink in its glass bottle and completely disappeared, and then eventually later it raised back up. But I didn't expect that at all, and it was just so cool and such a fun effect, and I just love all the things that happened while we were there because they were so unexpected, so fun, and they really just added something magical and special to the overall experience. This experience is really well suited for kids, in my opinion. Of course, you know your kids the best, so please use your best judgment based upon all of the information I'm sharing in this video. But there are so many fun things that happen. I just feel like this is a great place for kids to stay engaged and to have a good time and to make magical memories. The cast members getting into it and acting really adds a lot to the experience. So do the storytelling elements, and of course the non-alcoholic drinks do as well. There are several really great options, and they are kind of like fancy fun options, which makes the kids feel extra special and fancy, and it's just a good time overall. So I do recommend it for families with kids as well. We ended up paying $74 before tip, which we felt like was a very fair price for the overall experience, and the fact that we ordered 2 drinks and we had 2 plates of small bites included in that. I know that could potentially sound jarring or alarming if you've never been to Walt Disney World before, or if you haven't been in a while, but whenever you go to a lounge where there are drinks, they are going to be a little bit more on the pricey side, but it's just something to take into account, to put into your budget if it is something you plan on doing during your trip to Walt Disney World. There are so many pros to appreciate about this experience, but I'm going to do my best just to hit on some of my ultimate favorite things about this experience. The first is I loved the interactive storytelling moments, and we really found it interesting that we did not see any of the storytelling moments happen exactly the same way twice in the 45 minutes that we were there, and it did make us curious if we would see the same things happen if we went again. I don't know if it's on a 45-minute loop or if there's more you can potentially see during your time there, but I do really feel like there is a repeatability factor of this tavern and this experience, because there are other rooms to see, there are other places to explore, there could potentially be other interactive things to see, and of course there are more drinks and food to try on the menu and all of those things, so we really did kind of love that as well. I will also say that I really appreciated the wide variety of drinks on the menu, because some of the other lounges at Walt Disney World don't have the same kind of variety, and I really feel like there's a little bit of something for everyone on the menu, so I really did appreciate that as well. And we really did love that the food and the drinks were fantastic. We really had nothing bad to say about anything as far as the food and drinks were concerned. So yeah, overall it was a really positive experience, and I think those were my biggest highlights. I really also appreciated how the cast members got into everything and really added to the experience as well. They really did make the magic, and overall I feel like Disney did kind of take notes from a lot of popular things at Walt Disney World. Like for example, the bread services and all, except it was the chip service and the interactive elements at Trader Sam's, and they took and they kind of made it unique and put a pirate spin on it and made it different. But some of the fan favorite things, I feel like they kind of like combined and took together, and then they put them all in one place for us as Disney fans and as new fans that will be making magical memories. I just feel like they did such a great job overall with everything they did, and it's just such a unique experience that you can't get anywhere else outside of Walt Disney World. And for those reasons alone, I do think it is worth booking this experience if everything sounds good to you so far. But there are some important considerations to take into account before you book this experience. There are several considerations to take into account before you book this experience, but they are exactly that. They are not cons, they are considerations. They are things to think about and decide if they are deal breakers for you or anyone else in your traveling party before you book this experience. I feel like the list of considerations are also important things to keep in mind to help set your expectations appropriately before having this experience so that you have the best experience possible. The first consideration has to do with the randomness of the seating assignments and the seating arrangements. You have no control over which room you're going to be in or which seating assignment you are going to have. And some people do not like the idea of a standing table, for example, and feel like it would ruin their whole experience, or they don't like the idea of being placed in a booth with several other parties that they don't know, and that would ruin their experience. And so if you do fall into that category, you may want to think twice before you book this experience, because you just don't know what you are going to get. I will say though that the capacity of this tavern is very small, and I totally understand why the Imagineers did it the way that they did it. They made it so as many people as possible could fit into the tavern at one time, so that as many people as possible could have this magical experience. And if you were to ask me personally if the seating assignments had to be this way and more people could experience it, or if the seating assignments were just individual and less people got to experience it, I would choose the first one, because I know so many people want to do this and I want everyone to have this experience. And so even if it meant standing, I would still choose that first option. Another consideration that has to do with the seating arrangements and assignments has to do with the interactive features and storytelling elements that happen during your experience. You cannot see all of the interactive elements from all 3 rooms of the tavern, and you cannot see them from every seat in the tavern either. And so it really depends on where you end up, if you are going to have a prime seat for them or not. And some of the rooms have nothing. So it is just something you really don't have any control over. However, I will say that if you hear a moment happening, you can get up and go over to the room that it's happening in, and you can take a look if you would like to. I did that and several other people did that during our experience, and no one seemed to have an issue with it. However, I will say the tavern is tiny and there is not a lot of space. So not everybody could get up. That would just not be able to be possible at all. And you do kind of feel like you're in the way when you're doing this. Like there are a lot of cast members trying to move around and make sure they're serving the guests and the patrons and doing all the things that they need to do. And you kind of just feel like you're in the way when you're doing it, if I'm being honest. And I don't know that I would do it again if we went back again, just because I felt so in the way. So if that's something that may bother you or you might be concerned about, then just set your expectations that you might not be able to see the stuff that's happening around you. I do think that it is worth noting that all of the interactive storytelling things that happened with Rummy while we were there did also involve audience participation, if you wanted to, of course. So all of the cast members were like encouraging people to get involved, and so was Rummy, and you could still kind of hear that all happening from all of the spaces within the tavern. I feel like because that is an element that is included, you still feel like you are a part of these interactive experiences no matter which seat you're in. And so you may not be able to see the parrot himself, although hopefully you can get at least one little sneak peek because he is adorable, but you are still part of that story in a different way. So I do feel like the Imagineers were really smart for including audience participation in these interactive storytelling elements. The third consideration has to do with the 45-minute time limit and the 2-drink limit per person. The 45-minute time limit goes by extremely fast, and I feel like it would be extremely hard to order 2 drinks in a normal fashion, in the sense that you take a minute, you look at the menu, you order your drink, you drink it at a normal speed, and then you then order a second drink and do the same thing within 45 minutes. I just don't know how possible and reasonable that necessarily is for the 45-minute time period that they give you. However, if you do want 2 drinks during this experience and you know that, I do recommend going ahead and ordering both drinks as soon as you sit down. That is a pro move that the people behind us taught us, actually, because that's what they did as soon as they sat down. And I feel like that's a great way to do it if you know for sure you want to try 2 drinks. Another pro tip that I have is to look at the menu and decide before you are sitting down exactly what you want, and before your reservation even starts, way before if possible. And that way, as soon as your waiter or waitress comes up to you, you know exactly what you want and you can go ahead and order it right away, so that you don't waste any time and you have as much time as possible to enjoy any of the food and the drinks that you want to have during your experience. Although I don't know for sure, I am pretty confident that Disney put the 45-minute limit in place for several reasons, but I think the primary reason is so that as many people as possible can enjoy this experience in one day, because it is so popular, and I think it's going to continue to be extremely popular. So I do understand why that 45 minutes is there, and I'm glad it's there so as many people as possible can enjoy this experience in one day. Another thing to note about that 45-minute 2-drink limit per person thing is you cannot take drinks to go. Definitely not alcoholic drinks, although I'm pretty sure you can't take the non-alcoholic drinks to go either. It makes sense, you know, Disney does not want alcoholic drinks open around Magic Kingdom, and I totally understand that, but that is just not a possibility, so just don't expect that going into the experience. And now it is time for the moment you have all been waiting for. I'm finally going to answer the question that I promised that I would answer. Is the Beak and Barrel worth it? For us, the answer is 100%. Hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, yes, it is absolutely worth it. We highly recommend this experience at Walt Disney World. However, I do think it's really important for you to take into account all of the information that I shared in today's video and just make sure you are setting your expectations appropriately so that you can have this same kind of experience that we did and you can walk away feeling the same way that we did. As far as the burning question, is this experience worth it for you? Only you can really answer that question, but in order to answer that question, I do recommend that you spend some time going through the considerations section again and you ask yourself if any of the things that I mentioned would ruin your experience or anyone else in your traveling party's experience. And if the answer is yes, then I think you have your answer. If you have any questions about the Beak and Barrel or more specifically about our experience, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I will get back to you. I also would love to hear from you. Are you planning on booking the Beak and Barrel next time you come to Walt Disney World? Did anything I said in today's video surprise you or sway you in either direction? Commenting, by the way, really does help me so much. So thank you to everyone who takes the time to comment on my videos. And I'm also having so much fun getting to know some of you through the comment section. So thanks again to all of you who take the time to do so. If you enjoyed today's video, it would mean so much to me if you would consider subscribing, if you would like this video, and if you would hit the bell notification so that you're notified next time I post a magical video. I post specifically about Disney parks and more specifically about Disney parks planning content. Also, a huge heartfelt thank you to all of my patrons because without them, this channel would not exist. If you would like to consider joining us, the link to join will be in the description below. I share a lot of behind the scenes content over there and we like to have a lot of fun together. Until next time, I'm Kenzie. See you real soon.